I'd like to introduce the next guest. Is Liam Kukaran from NewsWhip, and I'm going to get him to do his own slides.
Yeah, so. Thanks. Cheers. Hi, everyone. First off, I'd like to say thanks to Alex for putting this together, and to Intercom for hosting us here this evening. It's a really great event. My name's Liam. I'm the head of communications at NewsWhip. That's a grandiose title for blogger. And NewsWhip, we're an Irish startup based on South William Street there at Tribal. And also in New York. What we do is we're in the business of allowing people to know what's mattering, what content matters to their audience right now. So our clients are in publishing. They're big media names like BuzzFeed, the Huffington Post, BBC, The Guardian, and others. They're in marketing. They're in corporate communications divisions. And it's kind of hard to get these guys' attentions, particularly the journalists, because they have so much information coming at them every day. So in this presentation, I'm going to talk a bit about how we've essentially leveraged our blog to garner that attention, to get under people's noses, lead to sign-ups and attention online. But before that, we're going to have to kind of run through what NewsWhip does, where we got all our information from because most of our blogging is based on, is data-driven, and to explain where the data comes from, I'll just kind of quickly talk about how we get that and what it is. I'll continue talking. It's okay. At NewsWhip, we're tracking about 2 million, we call it digital objects a day. That includes articles, Instagram posts, videos, and more on Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and so on. All these stories, these objects are categorized by country, by category, by language, and they're fed through a dashboard. Our API, our algorithm ranks these objects and stories based on how fast they're being engaged with on social media. So the output of that is a dashboard called Spike. It's at spike.newswhip.com, and it's a browser-based dashboard that allows editors, marketers, community engagement editors to figure out what their audience is talking about in real time. So if you're working at BuzzFeed and you're interested in the the stories that are getting the most comments, the stories about US politics that are getting the most comments on Facebook in the last hour, it allows you to do that. It allows you to look at the biggest stories on social media featuring MasterCard in the headline over the last month and so on. But the side effect of all that, what's really interesting from a content marketing point of view, is that there's an absolute ton of social data associated with all this. So going back to January 2014, we have an enormous social database, and it's the associated data around all this content that's passed through our system. So we have data on the biggest publishers on Facebook and Twitter, the type of content that works well on Twitter as opposed to Facebook, how videos perform on social media, and more. And the opportunity there is obviously for content marketing, and we're lucky because this is such a hugely important and really quickly evolving space for our clients and our target audience, publishers. So essentially, publishers are seeing that they can get more and more readers through social media. A Pew Research study from earlier this year says that about 4 in 10 US adults now get their news through Facebook. And social media has also facilitated the rise of new media giants like BuzzFeed, who have this multi-million dollar valuation. Publishers realize that they can reach readers through social media. They know that there's a lot of potential out there, but it's not as simple as just having a website, maintaining a website. There's still a lot of grey area around the best practice that publishers use on social media, and that's where we can kind of step in. I'll just scroll down here to remind me where I am. That's where we step in with the blog, and a lot of stuff that the best known stuff that we publish on our blog are rankings of the biggest publishers on Facebook and Twitter, and they're for news and media persona. So again, if we go back to the types of people who are signing up to use our product, we can break them into 3 different personas. People in publishing, that's news and media. So they're very interested in, how their site is doing on Facebook as opposed to their competitors. Then communications and PR, so how to handle a crisis on social media, what happens, what you do when something goes wrong, and then marketers as well. So the biggest brands on social media, what sort of content is working for brands on social. And on top of that, we're also kind of lucky that this is actually a genuinely interesting space to kind of blog about, which isn't always the case, I think, for a lot of companies. But the social distribution space, as we call it, is evolving really, really quickly. And Facebook are, in particular, have been driving this very quickly. For instance, this year, a major talking point for our clients and our target audience would be something called native content, and that's the idea that more and more news consumers are getting their news directly in their news feed without going to a publisher's site. So publishers are kind of scratching their heads saying, how do we best approach this? How does it work? What's the best practice to put in place? We're lucky that we can look at the data. We're some of the few people that actually can look at this data objectively and pick out some trends around that. So we blog on stuff like Facebook instant articles, which were just rolled out to all iPhone users last month. We were able to look at them and see how they've been performing for the early partner publishers, how live video is performing on Facebook, and so on. And that's the type of stuff. And on top of that, we're providing the hard data along with all this analysis. So we're not just saying, instant articles are seeing huge engagement because they load instantly and people like when stuff loads instantly. We're able to go in and look at and say, do some analysis and say things that, such as the analysis that we published last week, saying that we saw that the New York Times instant articles were attracting about 5.5 times the volume of comments that their regular links were. And that's a really interesting talking point. And that's the type of stuff, those hard newsworthy findings, and if anyone has a journalism background in the room or a PR background, they'll know what I'm talking about. That's the type of stuff that gets you into, gets you covered and gets you featured on different blogs and sites. So how do we build our audience once all these people come to the blog? So email is huge for us. We have about 10,000 plus media marketing professional subscribers. These would be people from, social media editors at the New York Times to reporters at the Kerryman. So they're from all walks of media. Social media has been huge for us, particularly Twitter. Obviously, because journalists are addicted to Twitter and they're constantly on it. And so particularly in the early days when I joined 2 years ago and we started publishing these rankings and doing this blogging, Twitter was a really important platform for us in terms of identifying who the influencers in our space were and making sure that they were sharing our stuff. And then earned media through follow-ups and citation. And so that when I talk about the earned media, kind of talking about our coverage, the knock-on of the coverage from what we put up on our blog. So if we put up a ton of stuff about instant articles, how that's doing, the likes of the BBC or the New York Times or whoever will come back and cite that and link back to our blog, which is really valuable for us. And again, it's through putting out hard takeaways and being able to stand over your data and perform that careful analysis that we're able to come up with these kind of newsworthy stories, which journalists love. But it's not just the earned media that's worked well for us, and the citations and the links. We've also had great success with influencers and providing journalists and kind of the people who our target audience would be with a really valuable, genuinely valuable experience. So it would not be uncommon for us each month to see the likes of Farhad Manjoo, who's the New York Times tech reporter, or Joe Weisenthal at Bloomberg tweeting our stuff. And then also, the likes of the Guardian's press office, the BBC's press office, tweeting out saying, hey, we've cracked into NewsWhip's top 25 rankings, this is great news. In fact, our sales team told me a story about when they went into a well-known tabloid in New York, into their newsroom to demo our product. and they hadn't met them before, and they were expecting to get 15 minutes and kind of shoved out the door. And the first thing that the person that they were demoing said to them was, "Oh yeah, we love your blog. We read your stuff all the time. We're just any day now we're going to break into your rankings. So tell us how we do that." And magically the answer is use our product. So that works out pretty well. So how do we convert the readers then? How do we make the most of them once they're on our blog? Again, the email capture through kind of pop-ups and linking out to a newsletter sign-up at the end of our post, as well as the blog stuff. We also do a weekly newsletter every Friday, and that's a roundup of what we learned on the blog that week, but also kind of links to industry news, trends in the area, that type of thing, and feature and product announcements. We make it very, very easy for our readers to get in touch with us. So we're constantly on Twitter, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and at the end of each post we have a box giving our contact information and encouraging people to email us. Very often we'll find that when someone reads a post, they'll email us very quickly afterwards saying, "Enjoy this post, very interesting. Do you have any more of this data, or how can I learn more?" And we can take it from there. And then the last point there. Oh yeah, so then obviously we're pointing them to our landing page as well. So Spike, which is the content discovery platform, we point them to that page in a not too salesy way. So at the end we have a few different calls to action. We're not barraging people and pounding people with really salesy, aggressive stuff. It's more conversational. It's dropping it in. It's being able to test our different calls to actions and make sure that people are responding well to them. And that is our landing page there. So there's a 2-week free trial. Then once they land on this page, they can sign up for the 2-week free trial. So what are we using? What's kind of powering all this? What are we using? It's not that elaborate. Nothing too special. We use a plugin for WordPress called SumoMe. We've been experimenting with it for email collection, pop-ups. They also do other stuff like different quote, tweet, share tools as well, which we find very useful. Obviously MailChimp has been really helpful as well for email collection and distribution, or for email distribution rather. And we've been obviously able to segment our lists into the different personas, so we're making sure that the journalists aren't getting hit with too much brand content, and that the PR people aren't just hearing about different Facebook publishers. Then on the social side of it, for community building, as I said, Twitter is just huge for us. The platform that we probably use most is TweetDeck. So if anyone has kind of worked in a digital newsroom, they'll know all about TweetDeck, and being able to kind of create your own lists and searches and so on, and that's very helpful for us. And Facebook is obviously also quite important, and LinkedIn as well. But I just think for our target audience, the type of people that we're going after, we know they're journalists, we know they work on news, and we know they're constantly on Twitter, so that's why it's been probably disproportionately important for us. And then also just Google Analytics and constantly tagging everything, every call to action, every link to our landing page, or whatever else is tagged, and then we're able to go back, see how many people have clicked and followed through to sign up, and if certain language isn't working, we're quick to jump in and make some edits. So kind of to wrap up, a few takeaways from our experience of using a blog as a primary tool for leads and generating interest and attention. I definitely have to say, kind of 2 years into this, that if your content is genuinely interesting, your audience definitely will be keen to read and share. And I think we can talk all we want about different tech and different plugins for WordPress and distribution points on Twitter and Facebook or whatever else. But really, behind it all, you need people who know kind of what they're talking about. You need interesting insights. You need to be analyze the stuff and be able to talk about it in a clever way. Because if you're in B2B, in the business of B2B, and all your readers are kind of in that space and this is the stuff that they live and breathe, they can smell BS a mile away, and if you're kind of waffling, they'll be able to tell that very quickly, and they're going to close the window and walk away. And also, if they do come through and they start if they start reading your stuff, facilitate them. You know, make it easy for them to share. Be open to them, be friendly, make sure that they know that they can kind of get in touch with you at any time. You're very open and can provide them with any more information if they want that. And then, of course, it's very important, we found, to stay on top of your customers' problems and the pain points that they have. So for us, it was increasingly this year, as I mentioned, this story about native distribution, so how publishers are going to adapt to the likes of Snapchat Discover or Facebook Instant Articles or whatever else it might be, and keeping on top of the latest news and developments around that and being able to, at the right time, provide kind of useful information about that was very, very useful. And then for any of you who are using data in your content marketing or thinking about it, I think that number one, ahead of nearly anything else we found, and we publish a lot of very granular data every month, is that it's so important to be accurate and have like almost very ethical journalistic standards around this as well. If you're publishing something like a ranking of the biggest sites on Facebook, it's very easy for people to get pissed off if they're not included, and we've seen that. But we're always very clear on our methodology in our posts. We explain very carefully to people how we're doing this. We explain to them that if it looks as though any of our numbers are off, we make it easy for them to contact us, and we're very quick to publish any corrections or whatever else as well. So yeah, if you're dealing with data and content marketing, make sure it's accurate, because your good name kind of does depend on it. So I think that's pretty much it. After all that, I hope that you all do go and check out our blog. It's blog.newswhip.com. I know I kind of skipped over a lot of what NewsWhip actually does there, because you guys are kind of interested in content marketing more so this evening. But if there is anything about NewsWhip more that you'd like to find out, you can catch me afterwards, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Liam, and sorry about the